So this year I decided to make a series of videos about the games that I had completed. This one's going to be longer than the others because by far I played the most games on PlayStation 5. So these are the games that I completed on PlayStation 5 this year. First up is Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, this is not based on the movies, it's based on the comics, and I'm not really familiar with the comics, but I'd heard this was a great game and I bought it on the cheap. At first, I was not loving it. The characters were talking so much and trying so hard to be clever that it was kind of grating on me. But as the story progressed, I actually laughed out loud at quite a bit of what was going on, and the characters really endeared themselves to me. The combat is pretty good. I ran into a few weird glitches, but overall, the story's a lot of fun. The combat is fun. This is a AAA sort of a title that's just fun to enjoy, but it's probably not going to be up there on like your greatest of all time list. Resident Evil Village. Now, I really enjoyed Resident Evil 7, and this is a continuation of that story. It maintains the first-person perspective, but it feels more like the world and the plot of Resident Evil 4. It's not nearly as claustrophobic as Resident Evil 7 was, and overall, I just really enjoyed it. Mainly, I was glad that this Lady Dimitrescu that was in all the trailers and the internet fell in love with this giant, creepy lady. I was pleased that she was not actually that much of the story, and I could just get on with an interesting werewolf/biohazard story. Scarlet Nexus. This is one of those anime games where in the beginning the characters dump all these proper nouns on you to explain their world. There's this thing in the sky called the extinction belt, and these monsters called others fall from it, and they look like they're made out of manufactured products for some reason. It never really makes a lot of sense, but the combat is super compelling, and it actually ended. The game ended so well that it made me love the whole game I had just played more than I did while I was playing it. And in fact, you have sort of a different story and different perspectives depending on the protagonist that you choose at the beginning. So when I finished the game, I could start again as the other protagonist, and all the characters that I had played as through the first game, when I encountered them in the second playthrough, would still be at the levels they had achieved. So I'm kind of looking forward to playing through it again. I did it a little bit, but I moved on to other stuff. Great graphics, great combat, a surprisingly good story. I recommend it. Far Lone Sails. Now this is a little indie game that I bought a physical copy of. You're just a little guy in a strange sort of a land ship trying to work your way to the right. As the game goes on, you gradually, on your own, have to figure out how to work the different components of your ship to upgrade it, to keep it moving, to get obstacles out of the way. I think I beat it in about an hour and a half, but I just love these little indie experiences, and I'm looking forward to giving it another playthrough and try to get the platinum. The Forgotten City. Now, The Forgotten City got a lot of accolades, but it's difficult to talk about it without spoiling what the game is. I'll just say, if you like a good story, if you enjoy Skyrim sort of conversation trees and those kinds of things, and solving an interesting puzzle involving what happened to these people in this one city and how to solve the problems that they are facing. It's a bit of a Groundhog Day kind of a loop, I'll tell you that much. I loved it. It's not very long. It's just really interesting to see all the different ways that the story can end. Trek to Yomi. This game just oozes the kind of style that I love. It's like the game Limbo and an Akira Kurosawa film had a baby. It's like you're playing through an Akira Kurosawa film, but it even almost has the plot, if you could really call it a plot, of the game Limbo. You are a samurai fighting your way through the underworld of Japanese mythology, and I really enjoyed it. It has an English dub, but after I played through it once in Japanese, I turned on the English dub, and no lie, the first random villager I ran into was supposed to say, "You must have been sent by Kami," which is the Japanese word for God. They pronounced Kami, Kami, and it lost me right there, and I had to stop playing through it in English. But it is a beautiful game, some pretty fun hack and slash combat, and just a really unique style. Okay, Stray. I was really looking forward to Stray, like many people. But unlike many people, once I played Stray, I did not think it was a great game. It is beautiful. It's a beautiful world, I'll give it that. The cat is rendered fairly well. But I was expecting a more indie game kind of an experience where you're just kind of walking through, the story's a bit open to interpretation, it's more style over substance. What the developers of Stray seem to have actually set out to do was to make you be a cat and then do the boring parts of Assassin's Creed games. Fetch quests, backtracking, really poorly done stealth sections. It never made sense why I was a cat and I had a little robot companion who was translating to me what robots were saying. The cat can't understand English either. How this cat was accomplishing tasks and it wasn't just on accident makes no sense. I feel like the cat being a cat and just kind of stumbling through a story, trying to get home, and maybe unwittingly helping all these robots would have been a better use of the genre. I would much have preferred a story that was told with no words at all, because I'm supposed to be a cat and cats can't understand words. The fact that this game got nominated for Game of the Year is just really confusing to me. I think people decided they were going to love this game and then just didn't let the facts dissuade them. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, I started this one in 2020, and then I quit it after a while, and I picked it up again in November of 2021, and I played it a bit more. But then this September, I finally caught COVID after avoiding it for 2.5 years. And while I was sick at home, laying on my sofa, I decided to pick this up again, and I finally completed it. It seems like very few people have actually completed this game. It is a huge game. It's beautiful, but underneath it all is basically the same Assassin's Creed game that you've played a dozen times before. Still, there were some clever surprise plot twists toward the end, and there was some really enjoyable roguelike free DLC that they had recently included that I had a lot of fun with, and I enjoyed it well enough. Hades. This was a big surprise to me. I know I'm late to the game on this, but it just has the most satisfying and addictive gameplay loop of any roguelike I've played, and I've played a lot. You play as Zagreus, who's the son of Hades. He's fed up with his overbearing father and decides to fight his way to the surface through the ever-changing depths of the underworld. When you fail, you show back up in your father's house, and you have to try and escape again. On each attempt, you're helped along the way with random boons that are granted by some of the Olympian gods, who don't particularly like your father either. The writing is just some of the most genuinely clever writing in a video game. There are interesting twists and turns, and the gameplay is fun, and it was really compelling. I finished the main story on my 60th escape attempt, but there's still more to do after that if you just want to keep playing. I see this as a game that I will likely pop back into from time to time just to make another escape attempt or two. I highly recommend this game. God of War Ragnarok. Now, I loved the 2018 God of War. I loved all the old God of War games as well. But this move to a more Last of Us kind of gameplay has really worked surprisingly well. The game is absolutely beautiful on the PlayStation 5. The combat is great. There are a lot of clever innovations and a lot of fun areas to explore. Just like the last one, if you stay on the path towards the goal, you can beat it in about 20 hours. More than twice that time is needed to actually explore the world and get the most out of all the content that they've prepared for you. As many have already said, the most frustrating thing about this game is how your companions constantly spoil puzzles for you before you've even had a chance to look around the room. And there's some very repetitive dialogue, particularly when you get caught on fire. Regardless, it was a wonderful blockbuster-style experience, and I'm glad I played it. But the best game that I played this year was Elden Ring. Elden Ring checked all the boxes for me and what I look for in a video game. I love the Dark Souls series, I love all the FromSoft games, and I love exploring a wonderful open world. This game delivered on both of those fronts. A beautiful open world, no dialogue slowing things down, just fantastic intuitive exploration on a horse that magically appears between your legs when you need to ride one and disappears when you don't. It's super intuitive, and exploring every nook and cranny of this world was an absolute joy. I explored everything that I possibly could on my first playthrough. Tried to explore every dungeon and every inch of the world. I had played it about 205 hours before the credits rolled on this game for me the first time. And I honestly was disappointed that it was over. I can't say that about any other game I have ever played. And most games don't come close to lasting that long, and many of them I'm wishing they'd be over at the 60-hour mark at the very least. I can actually remember a point while I was playing this game where I just thought, is this it? Like, is this the top as far as video games go? Should I quit here and go out on the best game I've ever played? It was just that good. I then played through it 2 more times, but in New Game Plus, because the world is so big and you only have to beat certain bosses to finish the game, it only took me 20 hours more to complete the game 2 more times, and I got the Platinum Trophy on it. Just a wonderful game. I can't say enough good things about it. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, and there are people who think other FromSoft games were better, but to me, the added exploration dynamic to a Souls-like game just made it perfect for me. So that's it for the PS5 games I finished in 2022. There is one game I started on the PS5 and was very excited about, but just could not be bothered to continue, and that was Tales of Arise. I played it about 8 hours, and then I just decided I couldn't be bothered to waste any more of my life on this. It has so many good reviews, but I'm telling you, it's just a pile of tired anime and JRPG tropes that I found insulting to my intelligence, as every character constantly reminded me what kind of character they were. Oh, I'm the character who's only in it for myself. Lame fetch quests, the same sort of action RPG combat you've played 1,000 times. I just wasn't feeling it. Other people absolutely love it, and that's great for them. But life is too short, and I had to put it down. Well, that's it for the PS5 games I played in 2022. Thanks for watching.